time is 8:32. Okay. Chris's birthday present for Grandpa is done and framed. That's his painting. Because, we missed Grandpa's birthday, so Chris's birthday, we're giving him his presents. My present for Grandpa is done and framed. I'm kind of worried if he'll like it or not because watercolors is my worst medium. And while I cheated a little bit with some acrylic white, kind of watered down a little bit for the effect on the water, the texture there, everything else is watercolor. So yeah. I'm kind of meticulous and very detail oriented. So watercolor is actually a challenge for me because then I have to let go of all of the meticulous little perfectionist details. So it bleeds. It bleeds, and while you can use that for some effects, with other things, you're kind of like, oh my god, no. That doesn't happen. You don't lose hours or even days of work with acrylic paint. Because you can just very simply paint over it. You can't really do that with watercolors unless you switch to another kind of paint. So, yeah. Anyway, I kind of like it, and I think that the red border on the edge, behind it, kind of works. Kind of makes it pop. I hope he likes it. Because watercolors is my worst medium, mostly because I'm a raging perfectionist. And also because with acrylics I can go over darker things with lighter things. It's easier to make things pop. I'm not used to using watercolors. Anyway, he likes my grandfather, on the other hand, is a big, big lover of watercolors. So he's not as big on acrylic, but he really gets into watercolors. Thing is, it's like my style is like high contrast and lots of, it's not as pastel as he normally goes for, but he likes it because it's bright, it's watercolors. I hope he likes this one. And it feels like I kind of half-assed it because I started it literally this morning because I was like, he's saying sailboat, but like, between these two. This one? Oh, this is another one that I did. Just playing around with watercolors. I was testing out the paint pens, which are glorified, filled paintbrushes. There's also this one, which is actually vaguely bad. Don't try something that detailed. I'm not expected to bleed. And then there's this, which is kind of the one that he was like, hey, I like that one. And I'm like, I can't do that for his birthday. It's not good enough. Oops. We'll pretend that didn't happen. Those are all old stuff. Like yeah, that's old stuff. No personal numbers back there. Okay. This is just better than that, and more colorful and brighter. More colorful, and I put more into that than I did the other one. I'm just like, the other one was just me seeing what I could do with watercolors. this is me branching out and saying, I don't like the way that this water's coming out. I think it would look better if I did this. And then doing it. I mean, the flowers aren't really to my specifications exactly, but that's because of all the bleed. I hate the bleed. And then I couldn't really go over it with lighter, and I didn't really want to go back over it with acrylics because my grandfather and his bloody watercolors. So, I tried to keep it very, very true to what I know he likes, because it's for him. So, that's what I did. I don't really know what else to say. Now I gotta finish cleaning up for tomorrow, gotta pick up the snacks Chris left out, and finish cleaning up my desk, make the birthday cake, all that fun stuff. Oh yeah, I also have to cut these stickers apart as little prizes for his friends. Yeah, he wants to give them out to the other kids. Oh yeah, put the ibuprofen away. So, yeah. I hope my grandfather likes it. He likes very brightly colored things. I mean, you wouldn't think so, I guess, because, dude, but nope, he is very pastels, and I'm not. I mean, there is stuff that I do that sometimes is like that, but nope. I am very high contrast, and he's like a minimalist whenever it comes to this stuff. Like, he likes those minimalist, the white is covered, but, I think that's what he likes. I don't know what he likes about it. All I know is that he likes watercolors. He's basically, he used to hand me once he handed me a how-to book trying to get me to get excited about watercolors. It is my least favorite medium to use. I like looking at it, don't get me wrong, but it is my least favorite painting or drawing as far as that stuff goes. I mean, no, it's straight my least favorite medium ever to use, because it's the one that you have the least amount of control over while you're doing it. And you just kind of have to adapt, to different things, and nothing comes out exactly the way that you want it to. Watercolors, the final frontier. But, I think that's what some people find fun about it, though, because you have to adapt. I prefer not having to, being able to paint over things and, I like making things work in different textures and whatnot, too. And I used to have these really thick watercolors that I basically used like acrylic paints. That was my response to my grandfather trying to get me into it. Just, it wasn't happening. It's never been my favorite medium. It's always been my least favorite medium. It's never going to be my favorite medium. But, it's for him. And sometimes I practice with it anyway. Because, you can find it useful to be skillful in things you don't necessarily like. Learning watercolors and having some proficiency with it made me better at acrylics. Made me better at the things I actually like to do. It doesn't really matter what skill level I reach with it, though. It's never going to be my favorite medium to work with. I just like having the ability to paint over something without ruining everything. I like being able to go back over things with a lighter color paint, I like to work a different way than watercolors really necessarily allows you to. That's okay. But it's also good to have some skill in it. Nah. But yeah, I mean, I even made sure to put my signature up in a place that he taught me how to whenever I was a kid, away from the corner. I don't really like where it's at, it kind of bugs me, but it's staying there because I can't get rid of it now. It's been penned on there. It's not coming off. It's on the paper. There's no painting over it. This is watercolors. And because this is a smaller piece than some of my bigger ones, I used pen. I didn't bring out like a little paintbrush with some white on it, like I do with the acrylics. I just signed it in pen. I don't like where it's at, but it's gonna stay there. Because if I try to fix it, I will ruin the fuck out of everything. Because this is watercolors, and I cannot stress that enough. I'm not big on it. But, this is something that I did specifically, for him. It's not photorealistic, no. But that's not the point. It's got some details in it. Kind of what you're looking at. But you're supposed to know what you're looking at. But at the same time, you're supposed to look at it and, feel something. And it's meant to have the aspects in paintings that my grandfather likes, like brightly colored flowers, some pastel shades, pastels and bright colors, Also, I wanted to, have something in there, like a landscape or something in the distance. Make you wonder if that boat's about to run into something or go through, like under a bridge or something. Make you wonder, make you look at it, make you say what's going on here. I don't know. Maybe I'll hate it. Watercolor's my worst, though. My acrylics, though. Let's unplug that and leave that there. Yes, I know my battery's low. Or like this. And this. See? I can do photorealism, I just hate it. I've got another one that I'm working on down there. Let's see, there's that. Can't see much of them, especially the Phoenix. There's that one up there. Yeah, I was gonna send that to my sister, but whenever I tried to send her something, it came back to me. So I was like, can't keep on sending things out. This one combines some realism, some cartoony aspects. Like, some of it's supposed to look more 2D than the rest. So it's kind of a weird one. It's also got some pieces of mirror, like broken mirror, glued on. Then there's this one. And then you look at this and I'm just like, I look at this and go, there are things that I would do differently if it was acrylic. I would have more detail in those flowers. They would not just be an impression on the page, but they wouldn't necessarily be photorealistic either. But they wouldn't have dark lines on the outside, they would be on the inside. But that was sort of something that I did to compensate for the bleed, Because even minimalizing the bleed, it's still there. And this is still not a huge painting, which means that the margin of error is even smaller. So I compensated for it so that it would still convey what I wanted it to in a way that my grandfather will most likely maybe still appreciate. But yeah. I mean, the fact of the matter is, I can do. Well, let's see. Others that are in my sketchbook. I do weird stuff in my sketchbook. Then there's this one, which is actually Chris reading to the cat. It's an actual picture that I took. Oh, Kilala. I posted that one a while back on Twitter, which I no longer go on. Ooh, Nick. I do all sorts of stuff in here. Oh, this one was really weird. Yeah, this one's not winning any prizes. Meanwhile, there's this dude at the library who just... Well, here's one. This is done with acrylic. Paint pens. Because I was experimenting with those. Jean got me some at one point. They were like for my birthday or something. And he was like, I know you like to try out new things. Try this out. And I'm like, yes. And I had fun with it. I totally had total fun with it and even brought out the leafing pens. Oh, and then this one I did while watching Chris practice karate. You know, this is just random perspective sketch. This is another one that's, you know, it's just a form sketch. This was me figuring out, oh, oops, can't do that with paint pens. Can't do that with watercolors. And then this is what happened afterwards. Like, I learned fast. And then this was just me messing around while watching Chris play. And then this, I was like, I should try doing Sailor Moon in watercolors. Okay, I don't really like it, because the bleed is the reason why I don't like it. I've had people, like, see it randomly and be like, oh, cool, that looks cool. And of course this one, and let's see, I've got some others in here. This one I started drawing a flower, but then was like, ooh, you know, ballerina dress. Yeah, went from there. And this is from me drawing the page so that I could make the effect where underneath where I did the, I went over it with the acrylic for the texture. Because I could only even do that because I basically said, oh, fuck it, I'm going to do some texture with the acrylic white. And then I'm going to paint over it. I wanted there to be like an under, you know, because it's not, you paint in layers. I've got like a bunch of sketchbooks with different stuff in it. I honestly go back and forth between them. I'm bad like that. So, but yeah. I hope he doesn't hate it. That would suck if he hates it. I can't sit here and worry about this all night. I got a cake to make. And dough to prepare for bread, because I'm making all the bread. Chris wants some, so we got all the stuff, all the sandwich stuff. And now I have to make the bread. There were a couple times I thought about ditching my convictions and using yeast. But I'm pretty into the whole into the whole yeast was a well, yeast was a specialty ingredient, except, after the Great Depression, then it was something that wasn't really widely used. Bakeries didn't really employ it. It's like how some bread uses sesame seeds and some doesn't. It was like that. It was something that, like, you wanted it super fluffy, you used yeast. If you wanted it to be a dense bread for a meal or something, you didn't. And then there are breads that still don't use yeast, that still manage to be fluffy. Those I want to learn how to make. But, like, now it's, like, mainstream and common, and now people call it traditional. Traditional to who? It's only been around since the Great Depression. The tradition before that was different. And, what can I say? I like that tradition better. So that's what I want to do. Oh, I have artist hands.